So there are many reasons why I wanted you to listen to Vishvanatha. One is, of course, he is a very dear friend of mine, but that is an additional qualification. The primary qualification is that he is a Vedanta teacher and he is taking care of our mother very well, Veda Mata. And that too in a place which is on the other side of the world. And not only that, if you were in Brazil, you would have to queue up for a selfie. He has been able to communicate Vedanta in a very profound way without diluting the tradition. Students are a very good reflection of the teacher. So I have been greatly delighted in interacting with the students because they share the love for the Shastra. They share the love for the knowledge, and of course they share a love for themselves. So you are very blessed to be able to listen to him. So besides that additional qualification, which is that he's a great friend, we studied in the Gurukulam together, as most of you probably know. And he has a very good understanding also of the Indian culture. Vedanta, of course, but there are many aspects also about the human mind. And so that's why we decided to have this topic, the heart of a Vedanta student. Because as we all know that there is more required in preparation rather than the truth, because the truth is pretty straightforward and simple. So some of you all may have felt betrayed. I came for Ananda, why you are telling me about preparation? Why you are talking about Antakarna Shuddhi? Well, that's how it is. So very happy that all of you all are able to, will be able to listen to me. Make the most of this time. So over to you.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Jagan Mataram Devim Sthitadhi Padmakasanam Hridaya Sagaratitam Gomatim Pranatosmyaham Om. So, I'm very happy to be here with you.
Happy to see you also.
Thank you.
It's rarely happens now.
Yeah.
From the sea.
Yes. And it happens that I'm coming with some students to India.
2 days to know.
Huh?
48 hours will take, no? By air.
Total for the 2 flights. The first 14 hours, the second 4 hours. And in between you have to wait for 4 hours. But my flight got delayed at 8 hours. So imagine. This is part of Brazilian karma, you know. If you want to go to India, you have to pass through this test, you know. But nowadays it's easy. Some 30 years ago, my teacher, when she came for the first time in India, she spent 3 months in a ship, like a cargo ship. And she heard once Swamini Brahmaprajnananda giving a lecture in Brazil. He went there, and that struck her so profoundly that she wanted to go for this knowledge, and she crossed the whole jagat. So 2 days is nothing. It's just what we have to live. So I was talking to Swamini before coming. I was even a little bit afraid that if I would be able to communicate with my English and make myself understood, but I think we are going well, so far. And I was trying to understand what would be the best that I could give you, because all my students are Westerns. I have actually 2 Indian ladies that study with me. They're a very famous musician in Brazil for Indian classical music, you know. And but what happened is that the Western concept, the Western thought is so different than the East, that what should be like, is it that the heart of a Vedanta student is different depending on which country this person is? Or where is the difference in terms of preparation for a person that is born here or born somewhere else, you know? And then thinking about this, I came to the conclusion that there are three things that we have to really think about, you know. So the first is that Vedanta is not really some sort of series of instructions, you know, because sometimes we have this impression, because we have books, Vedas are books, you have a ritual, so you have instruction of a ritual. So you have a recipe book, you have instruction how to do a good recipe, and maybe also I have a Vedanta book where I can learn about Vedanta step by step. But Vedanta is not step by step, you know, that's the problem. Because Vedanta wants to show you that you are free. And you cannot show that the person is free by steps. Your hand is free, the other hand is free. Now in your let's say marriage life you are free. In your job you are free. No, you cannot split the individual in different parts, you know. Some people in this Western philosophy, they try to do that. They say like that you have your personal life, you have your professional life, and you have also your relationships. And you should not mix this. Hey, this is a human being. If you have a problem at home, you work. You're not going to work well, definitely. And if you're not working well, when you get home, you also be interacting with your family, maybe with anger, who knows, with some hatred, because you're not being recognized in your job. When you start to conceptualize that you can split the human mind and the individuality in different categories, you know, actually this is some sort of process of, how we call this? Esclavization, you know? Like, if you take the emotional part out of human being, I just want you to be professional. You come here, do your job, and go home. This is like a Coke machine. You just do whatever you ask it to, and then go home. But this is not what a human being is supposed to do. Like, when you work with a human being, you are supposed to have from him whatever he is intended to do, plus his heart. And we expect this from every person that works with us. Even if there is a maid at home, we don't want her just to cook. We want her to cook and to put her heart on it. We want the manager to manage the employees and at the same time put their heart, his heart on it, to love them, isn't it? And if a mother wants to mother their child, take care of them, it's just not a matter of growing them. They have to be grown with this love aspect, some level of reality, a connection that only happens between two human beings. Mm-hmm. So because of that, really, when we think about what would make a person fulfilled in life, we have to understand that whatever Vedanta will give you has to somehow break the categories that are created in our minds. You know. Somehow we have to stop thinking that my life as a husband, my life as a wife, my life as a father, as a mother is different than from what I am. Actually, although it's a role that I'm playing, it's the role of my life. And if I'm not happy where I am, there is no mantra that can heal me. And you know, in Brazil, a lot of people, because they don't know, like, if it was a Catholic priest, you know, they would not have any fantasy. They know Catholic priests, they are just normal people in a robe, telling this and that. And if they do a prayer, it's a prayer. I can also do a prayer, they can do a prayer, everything is fine. But when you say mantra, they say, teacher, I'm having a trouble with my sister. She, I say, I don't know, she's fighting with me. Can you give me a mantra? There is no mantra for emotional growth, you know. Emotional growth, you cannot have a mantra for it. You can have a mantra to help you to have courage, to give you space, like to be able to deal with your emotions. But to grow, you need the other person. And actually this world is just made for that, for growth. And that's why we are interacting all the time. So when you tell me that, oh, I'm having a problem with my mother, that's supposed to happen. That's why you have a mother. So that you can solve your emotional troubles and she also can solve hers. And together you can both grow. But the problem is that if the mind is not tuned to this understanding of spirituality, it will try to use spirituality as some sort of escape, you know. So all the time, oh, if something happens, I'm going to pray to Krishna. And then she comes back home and she's like a general at home. No, general? What is this? This is not correct. You know, a mother should give love. A father should also give love. You know, if love is not happening, remember, the basic human being function is not happening. Nobody wants anybody to do anything without love. Even if you ask, no, I want my children to obey me. Oh yes? Tell me how. I want him to every day clean the dishes. Yeah, but how you want him to clean the dishes? Thinking that he's a slave in his own house, and that, no, you want him to clean his dishes willingly, and happily, and lovingly. And this won't happen if you shout on his ear. And this is so obvious. If Vedanta does not take care of that, this knowledge has no meaning. Understand? So now what happened? It cannot be a list of things for you to learn. It has to be something that while you study, you have to change. You have to break these categories of the mind, you know. So all the time, these big masters, you know, they will point us the teachings in some sort of way that stop our usual way of thinking, our usual way of categorizing ourselves, you know. So we don't say that it's a descriptional knowledge, you know. There is not a list. What are the main teachings of Vedanta? Vedanta has only one teaching. You are free. All the rest is just to make the magic happen, and this person get this possibility inside of seeing that there is nothing in his life that is lacking. And actually, we have what they call a paradox. Paradox? You understand this word? Okay. There is a big paradox when a person gets hurt. Look how it is. The child comes in at home and the mother shouts in with him. And suddenly he gets hurt because the mother shouted. And he went away crying, you know. Now, why he is crying? Because he wants the love of his mother. Isn't it? Yeah. And he's getting some sort of general apocalypse coming, you know. And then suddenly the mother say, how you say, subtika? Subtika. Everything is fine. Give me a hug. What the boy will say? No. Hey, but you want my love, isn't it? Yeah. But now, I'm not prepared to receive your love. Understand? It's a very complex situation. Because when you deny love from a person, the person blocks the love that comes from you. And now you cannot solve the problem. Because if you want to give love to the person does not want. You hurt the person and then say, okay, please forgive me. No, I don't forgive you because I'm hurt. So there is a knot. Understand? If there is a knot, and a knot that is in a paradox, you cannot have a list. You have to somehow dribble? No. Like pretend that you are going in one direction, the mind goes there, and then you overcome it and just tell the kid, tomorrow let's go for playing football. Then suddenly he forgets the hurt, and then you hug him, and then he remembers the hurt, but he's already hugging, and then he cries. So you need a strategy, you know. Vedanta is a strategy. How many Purusharthas are there? 4. Really? Think about it. What is the first one? Dharma. Yeah, that's good. Good Vedanta students. First one is Dharma. Second Purushartha. Artha. Third? Kama. You know the meaning of each one, of course. Okay. And the fourth? Moksha. Okay, which one do you want? The most important from the four? Moksha. How many Purusharthas are there? Only one. Do you think that anybody in the whole Jagat wants something different than moksha? Maybe the person has not realized it. And maybe you have to explain in 4 steps, let's say, the 4 Purusharthas. But there are not 4 Purusharthas. There is only one Purushartha. And this Purushartha is moksha. And Dharma, Artha, Kama comes later as roles that we have to play here. And this is very clear for every Vedanta student. But when you have to explain somebody, you cannot tell him there is only one thing in life, moksha. Then the person thinks that he has to drop his family and go to Rishikesh. Becomes a problem, you know. So there is a technique. You explain, giving categories, but one of the categories is not really a category. Moksha is not in the same level of the other 3. It's like saying, in the sky there are clouds, in the sky there are birds, in the sky there are, how I say this thing? Kites. Kites. And the sky there is the sun. Hey, the sun is not in the same place as the other things. These things are very close. The sun is like the same thing you do with moksha. You have Artha, Kama, Dharma, and moksha. You cannot put in the same category. But it takes what? A student heart to understand it. Unless the student heart is prepared, he cannot see the truth behind the knowledge. Even today, before coming here, I was answering a YouTube commentary on a guy that was telling that, Buddhism was like an enhancement of Vedanta, and this and that. Because Buddha did that, and Shankara did that, and whatever he read somewhere, he was putting that, this and that. You know? Then I said, congratulations, I think you discovered something very important, because we are all studying this for so many years, and you just told like something that will change everything, you know. Start a new school and be happy. Then he got struck. Then he said, no, I have no intention to disturb. I said, no, I feel that you really is talking from your heart, and I see that you are doing a good job, you know, and you have studied Vedanta, you have studied Buddhism, and analyzing both. I only have studied Vedanta, I cannot talk about Buddhism. Then he said, but I have not studied any Vedanta and Buddhism. This is a technique. How am I going to tell him that he's completely wrong, completely inappropriate, and actually should not have written anything, without having him hurt, putting his ego up? There is a technique. You just say that he's right, you know? And because he doubts himself, and that's why he's discussing with me, he will collapse, you know? So the ego has a way to collapse. If somebody says that they don't need Vedanta, you just congratulate him. I can see that your life is going very well. I'm very happy with your family. You have no sickness in your family, and actually your job is perfect. So actually you made it, you know? And the person will be obliged to say it's not true. Because we are human beings and we know how it is. You know, we say that everything is fine, but it's not really fine. So now what we need? We don't need knowledge. We need actually something that will help us to deal with our ignorance. Understand? It's a subtle difference. Of course, knowledge has to come. But before that, I need something strong enough to deal with the ignorance that blocks me even to get the knowledge. So this is like the first step. Unless I understand that Vedanta is not a book and a series of teachings, but actually a method, a way of dealing with the mind, there is nothing that I can gain from it. And when I understand it's a method, then it comes to the second point. That is where I think that Brazilians, Americans, Japanese and Indians, we are all on the same ground. While we don't get to the point of the method, if we say that we understand the method, we are lost. And this is very important. When I came to India, I was studying already for 10 years. probably like you in a regular basis, once a week, twice, 3 times sometimes. And I studied Sanskrit mantras, and I had some classes. I was giving classes to 10, 20 people, small groups, you know, and thinking that I knew a lot. Because I was giving classes even. I could explain Artha, Dharma, Kama, Moksha. I could say what was in that Upanishad, this Upanishad. I could list every story of what is Mahabharata, now who is Bhima, who is Bhishma, the difference between both. I could say all this, but this is not Vedanta. You know, if I go back at home and I'm not able to smile at my mother, it's not Vedanta. This is a joke. So if you say, oh, this is Tatvamasi, Tatvamasi is what? Are you able to open your arm and say, I'm free? So there is no Tatvamasi. And this has to be very clear in your heart, you know. So when I arrived in the ashram and I told Swami Sakshat, oh, I did this, I did that, he said, okay, so now just stop everything and start again. Because if you did this so many things and you are still wanting to study, understand that you don't understand anything. It's very important. So while I am in a position of learning, I should never take for granted that I know the method. This is something very, very important, you know. I have to keep my open mind. So if I have not grasped totally yet, there is something on this joke that I could not understand. And when I say joke, it's not because it's something less. It's because it's like a joke. Sometimes a person tells a joke, you know, and you don't understand, and you cannot do a description of the joke. Okay, first thing that happened is second. You need the whole context, the whole thing to understand. Maybe it's a trick of words, maybe it's some, I don't know, prejudice of the society that they're making a connection. Who knows, you know? So it's something that is beyond what we can imagine through the immediate words, you know. So this is something that we really have to be very paka here. Because the Tamil Nadu has some different...
But it's an Indian word.
Indian word, yeah. So we have to be very paka. You know, if we take for granted, we are lost. And in this point, you should be very careful. Because what happened is that some 200 years ago, all these Vedic concepts and ideas were kept in the heart of big swamis that lived in the Himalayas, you know. And now this culture has opened up from inside. So everybody can tell every story and what is in every Upanishad without knowing any meaning. They just tell. So it's like this. What you are facing now, being completely honest, you know, like you have the best and the biggest spiritual heritage in the world, is the Vedic tradition, you know. At the same time, if you go to YouTube, you have the most spoiled tradition in the world with all the wrong mantras being chanted and everybody recording. And now nobody more knows what is what, you know. Nobody can know, because unless you are a Chaturvedi and have learned from somebody, what can you do? And even I'm being a Brazilian, coming to India and going back to Brazil, if an Indian goes there and tell that no, everybody should chant the Gayatri in the shower, everybody would do. Because an Indian told. You know? Why a Brazilian guy would know what to do with Gayatri? Look, this Prema Shri Raj, não sei quem, it's doing a nice, very song on Gayatri. You know? Why can we also chant? But she's wrong. Who are you to tell her she's wrong? This is the present moment we are living, you know. We don't know anymore who knows, who does not know. So we need to be very honest in our hearts, you know. We have to be the thermometer. Is this making a difference in our lives? Like, is this knowledge working for us? Is all the knowledge that I have already gathered enough for myself? Or there is something lacking? If there is something lacking, I have to be open. And I have to be open to everybody. It does not matter if it's in orange, if it's in white, or if it's in normal clothes. Because a lot of our friends, they don't even put dhoti and they teach. I know a lot of them, they are very good teachers, you know. And in the opposite way, I also know a lot of people that pretend that they know, but they don't know anything. So we have to be extra careful, you know. There in Brazil, we are lost. Here you have more chance because now you have each other and you have some good people like Swamini and other teachers that can guide and can give a direction. But as a whole, you should be stronger than the spiritual advertisement that is happening now in the society. And this will be a challenge for you, I'm sure. Because if Satya Sai Baba was in the street, this could not happen. Everybody will be there, oh, Satya Sai Baba. What he does, he produces ashes. What are you going to do with the ashes? And then go back at home and fight with the wife. Does not have a purpose. And I'm not saying bad things about Sai Baba. Sai Baba, Jai, okay? I love him, you know, and I inspire myself with him. But ashes is not his prasadam. Ashes is just to help the fantasy of the people to connect to him. He represents something much bigger, you know. And or you are connected to your heart, and your heart means your own happiness, your own well-being, or you are connected to some stupid ideas about spirituality. And then people will talk like this, oh, do you know this Swami? What? Yeah. Because it could be something like this, oh, his class was fantastic. When I was there in the class, when he talked to me, I understood how I should speak to my child. It was like a big gift. I'm very happy. I would clap. But it's not like this that we talk. You know that Swami? You know what? When I went to talk to him, he stood up. He knew I was going to talk. Then when he sat, I also sit. We have a connection. We felt at the same time the will to sit. People say like this, of course, you know. And then, you know, I said, Ganesha, please bring me a teacher. That time, a fellow gave me a Hare Rama, Hare Krishna pamphlet. But this in India, look, probabilistic. Every place there is a Ganesha, every place there is a Hare Krishna guy, you know. It will happen to everybody. It's not like a bingo, you know. So the mind plays a lot of fantasies around the spirituality, you know. Spirituality is not about fantastic experience, although they may happen. It's about living happily. And what do I need to live happily? Now this is the question that I have to ask. What do I really want from these teachers? What do I really want from Vedanta? If Vedanta is a method, I need to understand this method. I need to dive into it, you know, with all my heart. And let him show me whatever he has to show. And if you don't put your total effort, that's one very important mark. If you don't put your total effort, you will never know if it works. Everything in life is like this. If you don't study properly, you will never know if you're going to pass the exam, or if it was lack of study. It's true. If you don't do your best, how can you know? You know? So what happens is that once we understand that is a method, we cannot take it for granted, because we are still studying. And what should be our attitude towards it? We have to do our best. And our best does not mean to be perfect. It's the best on this moment of my life. What can be done? Yesterday I was talking to a student and he was telling me, I'm trying to do japa, I already tried 3 times, but it's not happening, you know. And then I let him talk for some time, you know. And tell me how you are doing in this. Oh no, I'm doing 30 minutes, 40 minutes, this. And then I got tired, then I lose interest in this and that. Okay. Then after he exhausted all his energy, I thought, okay, may I give a suggestion? Because you may be doing wrongly, you know. Because japa is not like gym. Gym, you know, you have to always push a little bit more than you are able to, so that the muscle growth. Japa, you should always do a little bit less than you are able to, so that the mind always wants it. Like video game, you know. If you stop before the addiction comes, you always play happily. Japa is something like this. You enter that very calm state and very happy state, and there is a certain period of time that the mind is able to swallow that. After that, it needs to process a lot of emotions inside. For some people, it would be 5 minutes. For the people, it could be 2 hours. What's the problem? Each person is a different person having a different need. So, if I can do 40 minutes, I will do 30. And will come out very happily from my japa every day. And will never stop doing. If I don't know this simple trick, I will do 45 minutes, trying every day to be a little bit better. And I will suffer my whole life. Because japa, when you do more than you are able to, you suffer. You keep there in sweat. And this is not how it's supposed to be. If you look Buddha meditating, he's happy. He's not suffering, you know. So what is the problem? It's not the japa. It's the attitude. The way you are doing, this is not your best. The best way is not when you do more. It's when you do better. How can I do better? If you say, okay, I do take just one class per week with Swamini, that's what I can do. Okay, how can I do it better? There is always a way that you can do it better. And if I'm not, some students have this situation, I'm not able to stay more than 1 hour with my father without fighting. Okay, so stay less than 1 hour, but do it better. How can you do it better? This type of attitude makes the student grow like an arrow of Sri Rama, you know. All the time, the person is wanting to become a better person, but not in terms of conquering, you know, different things, but just opening more his heart, becoming more loving. And think about this. If we really think about how our lives are structured, you know, we have very limited time. Limited time for everything. To stay with your children, it's limited time. With your parents, at the job, with our teachers. The best thing that we can do is try to enhance the quality of whatever activities we are doing, you know. So as Vedanta students, how can I be a better student? This should be our question, and not, I'm going to study with this person, I'm going to also, because we have these things in the beginning, I'm going to buy all the books. Then some people come to me and say like this, teacher, look how many books I have bought from Puja Swamiji. I have the whole Gita, 10 sets, the whole Gita. Okay, then when everything is over, you ask, how many of these books have you really read? But read like with your heart, you know. No. I have all the audios from the 3-year course. Okay, have you done the 3-year course? No. I'm doing japa, Swamiji, I'll tell you, for 20 years already. Since my child was born, I'm doing Gayatri, japa, what is very good actually, I'm not saying bad things, but I'm praying every day for a better life for me, for my family. Okay, fine. But what do you feel if I tell you like this? For 20 years, I'm taking these sleeping pills. For 20 years. To sleep better. Hey, japa, these prayers and everything is an expression of your willing to have a better life. Even that when you do a japa, you are wanting your mind to get calm. When this will end? This is not going to end, understand, if the attitude that you do is on counting how much japa you have done, how many books you have. The time that you are able to do the japa without counting, without telling other people what you are doing, without boosting yourself because of the japa is start to work. Understand? Japa is not something that is supposed to put a medal. Actually, it's a medicine. You should not say, for 20 years I'm taking sleeping pills. My God. You say, my God, this person should be very disturbed. He's doing 1,000 japa every day. And now, after 20 years, he fights with his with his daughter. Then you ask, what would you prefer? That your father would not have done this japa, but have done therapy all his life, or the opposite? Because you know what therapy gives, japa does not give. What japa gives, therapy does not give. And if you are needing therapy and doing japa, you are losing time. You don't have an infinite time. And you are not supposed to do what you feel that is best for you. You're supposed to look for a person that knows what is the best, like a doctor, and ask what's the correct medicine. And in general, it's not the medicine that you like, okay? It's not. So I love to do japa, that's why I'm doing. Maybe you don't need. That's why you love. And you can do a little bit because you love, and you can do a little bit more of what you don't love, but maybe is what you need. This attitude it takes like a lot of punya to have. Even in Indian society, you know, because I know a lot of people that are in the ashram and that studied with me, that just friends of us, that you can see what they call the Mriga Trishna Haranam, no? Like you know the story? Yeah. The desert. Okay, in Brazil you don't have this Mriga Trishna, of course. We have the expression that the person died on the beach. the person, how you say, Juliana, this? Por que a pessoa morre na praia?
Swim and never, and when reach, die.
Yeah. The person who went to swim on the sea, you know, and then he swims so much to get back that when he reaches the land, he dies. That's the concept, you know. So we see a lot of people that have a lot of concepts of spirituality, what should be done, what should not be done, and you have to do Ganesha Homa, and you have to do Gayatri, you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to do this. But this person that's saying, I have to do this, I have to do that, this is the problematic person. That nobody bears, you know. The wife cannot bear, the children cannot bear, and this japa is not going to help because he's doing the japa with the attitude that he should cut. You know? So how he is going to overcome that? That's why this guru is very necessary. Because actually Gayatri Japa is a big blessing, you know, and it's the best mantra in the world that a person can do. But at the same time, even Gayatri Japa, if it's not done with the correct attitude, what would you gain? You will be, how I say, like a lemon, what the taste? Sour. You'll be a sour Brahmin. There are lots of them, isn't it? And they all do Gayatri Japa. Very sour. You talk to them, you even do like this. How can I talk to this person? How to be on his side? The person who do Ganesha Pujas. My God, he's crying. Ganesha is supposed to be happy, you know. If mantra gives that, if puja gives that, he should have it. But it does not. So the Vedic tradition is not a key in itself. It needs to be activated. It needs the teacher. And the teacher uses all the instruments inside the tradition to help the person to overcome his own mind, the own categories that he have created, his own pattern of thinking. You know? So this is very important. Now, if we get that, we are safe. And also, like anything in the tradition can be done freely, you know. And also, if you don't feel someday that japa is not for you, maybe you should talk to a guru, because maybe it's not for you actually. And maybe your neighbor needs, and that's why he's doing. In the ashram, sometimes we get a lot of conflicts because we see our friends doing different sadhanas that we are doing, and we want to do their sadhanas. It's like a child, you know, wanting to have the medicine that the brother is having. But you don't need that medicine. You are not having dengue, nothing. You just keep your life going. No, but I want, he's also having. So what is the problem? It's not understood. It's a medicine. It's not a way of life. Therapy is not a way of life. It's a medicine. Everything that we have inside the Vedas is a medicine. What do you need to live happily? What do you need? You just need to be yourself. If I'm able to connect to myself inside, what is my shrine? The Jagat. Everything, any person I meet, I can do Namaste-stu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya. If this is not possible for me, then I need a temple. Because at least in one place in this city, I'm able to connect to God. And maybe if I'm not able to talk lovingly to my family all the time, I need to do puja in the morning. Because on that time, I'm able to entertain loving thoughts. If I'm not able to be out of stress the whole day, maybe I should do japa. At least I will give my mind some free time from my own thoughts that are so disturbing. So all the sadhanas, they are like medicines. We should desire them for the sake of our health, but we have to understand that there is nothing between me and God. There is nothing in between me and a healthy life, me and a happy life. There is no necessity for any tradition, for any mantra, any japa, nothing. It's just you, the free person, is happy, you know. And this is where the Vedas want to reach, and that's why inside the tradition, very beautifully, there is this ritual where even the wood that you use to start the fire, you also throw in the fire. So even the Vedas are burned in the knowledge of the self. Even the Vedas. What is the use of the Vedas if you are free? Think about it. And this is very profound. We are not denying the value of the Vedas. We are just saying that it's so perfect that it destroys its own need. You're not going to get addicted. Once it's fulfilled, you also drop it. And you take to sannyasa. And you stay with your own self. And you just live your life happily. So this is the second. And third aspect. And this third aspect, we have time, no? Okay. Are you enjoying? Should I? Okay. So this third aspect is it's not difficult to understand, okay? But it's tricky for the mind, you know. Our if we have, remember the first one? Which one? It's not a list, it's a method. The second? You have to be careful about the teacher. You have to take out the fantasies and understand. You have to not take for granted the whole process, you know. And this third aspect of the situation is a little bit more tricky, you know. Because it's like that. We are dealing all the time with a relative reality. Like if we are in our own dream. So we have a body, we have thoughts, we have desires. Not all the desires come from the ego, you know. Think about it. You need the ego to have the desires. But the desire is something even bigger, because to fulfill your karma, when you are born here, you need desire to function. So desire is like a force, you know, that keeps a jiva going. Even the mother of Puja Swamiji has had desires until the last moment of her life. She has. Everybody has. Even to teach, you need a desire. To study, you need a desire. Anything. So there is a relative perspective that we have to deal with it. At the same time, Vedanta is pointing out that there is something to be understood about this experience that we are having now, that is not being recognized by us. So whatever we think about of freedom would never be something, this is very important, something that will be conquered in time. Has to be something that should be recognized now, that will also be valued for all the time that happened before this moment and all the time after this moment. For example, I'll give a nice example. So imagine that you have a lot of anger towards your father because he'd have done something to you, abandoned you. And now I've grown up, but I have a lot of anger because I wanted his love and he was not so present, this and that and this. And then one day somebody tells you one Mahavakya. What is it? Anger is love. Anger is love? Come on. Yes. Think about it. You can only feel anger if you love the person. If you don't love, if you don't have any affection, you cannot feel. And if you love more, you feel more anger. Because if an unknown person comes to me and abandons me, bye-bye, no problem. But my father, that it's so dear to me. My best friend said this to me, then I get my best anger. Actually, the love is the fuel for anger. Anger is just a form of love, expressed in the mind. I love you so much that I cannot permit myself to be away from you. That's why I get very angry when I think that you are away from me, because I love you. I am angry with you because I love you. Oh, look at this. If the mind is able to really grasp this concept, it will solve the anger now. And all the anger that happens in the mind before this moment, it's not something that you are gaining. It's just a recognition. You are recognizing the fact that anger was always, is, and will always be love. So what happens to anger? Nothing. Because what needs to happen? If you say, the pot is clay, what will happen to the pot? Nothing. Does not need to happen. Nothing. It's just a form. Does not affect my love. The fact that I'm angry with my son does not deny the love that I have for him. Actually, because I love him so much, I get angry when he's not studying. Isn't it? Anger is love. You are free. So beautiful. And if you look on this same perspective, I would ask, in this relative experiencing that you are having, there is something that is not relative. There is something to be recognized now, not after Samadhi, after Brahma Sutra, or whatever concept. Something for you to see right now that shows you that this experiencing that you are having, it's not real. It's not something that will last forever. There is nothing that can be taken away from you. There is nothing that can improve you also. And this recognition is available at all the time. The same way that we say that love is anger. If you ask anybody from any culture, in any age, to close his eyes and ask, how old are you? The subject has no age. Where are you? I have to open the eyes and say, oh, I'm in India. Because if the scenario is different, I would say I'm in Brazil. The subject does not have a location. And what day is today? Any one of us has the experience, we call it as an experience, but it's just a fact. We don't have the experience of the time changing. For us, the subject, no. For the role, for sure. And it ages, and it is very clear that the time is passing. Close your eyes, you say, my God, my childhood was yesterday. There is something on this experience that is not being recognized in its own value. So it's not a matter of understanding that Ishvara is everything and just, this is just part of a method. It's understanding that this experience that you are having now, the base of this experience that is you, is the meaning of the word happiness. So there is no need to do anything or to conquer anything else to be in peace, despite the fact of being with your own self. If I was able to be with myself, I would be happy all the time. The problem is that my mind does get tricked by the thoughts and take me to different places and ideas that what should I have to be happy, this and that, thinking that I am the body, thinking that I am the mind. So what this knowledge is really wanting to give us is an understanding of an absolute reality through a relative experience. Can you follow that? It's difficult. So it's a recognition of an absolute reality through a relative experience. So all the time, the Vedanta Pramana would have to challenge your mind and show you that this experience that you are having now don't bind you. Don't bind you, no? Don't bind you. It's not able to bind you. But the binding sensation is just a sensation. It's not real. And this is a big challenge for our character here, because Everything is based in my life, in my needs, my sense of survival. So I have to be recognized by society. I need money, I need this, I need that. And we are like programmed to do this since childhood. We tell you should have a good job, you should have a good family, you should have to do this, because when you die, somebody should pray for you. And everything is conditioned so that you don't come out from this survival mood, you know. It's a mood in the mind. All the time I have to survive. All the time I have to survive. So when you talk about generosity with people, it comes like such some horrible sentences, you know. People say like this. Generosity means that you are able to share wherever it's abundant, like wherever you have more than you need. This is not generosity. Actually, I don't know how to call it. Actually, it's something nice that you can do it. It's like a donation. You have more than you need, you donate. And that's okay. But that's not generosity. You know. Once I was in Kedarnath, and one priest came, and we did a Laghu Rudra ritual. I did not know it would take so long time. I was with a group of students, and then we chose. It was expensive. We said that must be good, maybe. So let's do this one. And we asked the priest, and he came outside the mandira, and he did on the ground, and then he took inside for us to put in the Kedarnath Swami. And it took like 2 hours. Do you know how it's this ritual? They chant like one shloka of Rudram, the whole Chamakam. One shloka of Rudram, the whole Chamakam. Then okay, but we stood there in the cold without shoes. We survived, and of course got a lot of blessings. When everything was over, we had some tea with the priest. And we also gave him some dakshina, and all. He was very happy. And then he was amazed because we gave a good dakshina. And then he said, sure it's not going to put in a need to give us so much money. I said, no, we're in a big group, and please have it, you know. No, because I am a poor priest in Kedarnath. Then I said, no, this I cannot give, because I cannot give money to a poor person, you know. Look, think about it. I just stopped him. Would you prefer my money and live in Brazil? Or do you prefer to live here in Kedarnath? Nobody that lives in Kedarnath can say it is poor. It's so ridiculous. What is your concept of richness? What is your concept of abundance? Generosity does not mean that your survival struggle is out and now you are able to share. Generosity means that the survival instinct of the mind is over. And actually, none of us need this survival instinct anymore on this situation. Maybe we have some things to deal with it, a disease, employment situation, okay. But if you are out of this situation, come on, you are in India with Swamini, learning Vedanta, having a family. Isn't an abundant life? How? I'm not generous. So generosity, all these qualities, they don't come out of a process, you know, where you become a saint because you are purifying your mind and Takarana Shuddhi, this and that, and then suddenly you are now all giving, it's not like that. You suddenly discovered what a foolish role you are playing. Having so much and playing a role of a miserable, trying to survive. Having a family and not being able to enjoy the family that you have. Having a life and not being able just to enjoy this life. Even Bombay, that is very big with different things. There are so many things for you to enjoy and live. You won't find moksha in a survival mode. Impossible. You won't find moksha if you are struggling to become someone in this society. Actually, Puja Swamiji says, you will find moksha the day you don't need to look for it anymore. And this is a very big understanding of what is Vedanta. Vedanta is an understanding about the absolute reality. But it needs a shift in this character, this role that we are playing. We should declare our independence from our own needs. We should declare, there is nothing here that I really need, that I really want. Everything that I have in my life is enough for myself. Therefore, I am rich. Therefore, I am generous. Therefore, I can give for the other people my best all the time. And I am a human being, I will make mistakes. I don't need to be perfect because I don't need also to be right. I'm so abundant that I can also be wrong. You know, if the rich person has like a very expensive car and it hits a tuk-tuk, he says, okay, I pay. I'm so happy that if I hurt someone, I ask for forgiveness. I do Ashtanga Namaskaram, everything. You know, it's okay. What ego I want to... I'm not a survivor anymore. Let the Jagat wins. You know, this character that we have, it's a son or a daughter of whom? Maya Devi. It's true. We are born out of ignorance. All the bodies and minds, they are not perfect. Lots of holes, you know, lot of holes, lot of problems, emotional issues. Why this struggle to be perfect, you know? When are we going to accept the nature of this imperfect body and mind? The day that we accept that, we are free from it. And actually, you're going to see that this mind and body are perfect. I really don't want to be Sarvagnya. What would be the joy? I would come here and know everybody that is here. What would be the joy? And then after here, we are going to have some food. We don't, no, you know all the meals you're going to have until the last day of your life. It is completely boring. There is no fun for a character. And if every person was predictable, when I married my husband, he was like that. And he stayed like that for his whole life and died. Hey, this is not a life. When I married him, he was like that. The next year, he changed. This is life. Isn't it? Why struggle? What is the resistance? There is a shift that has to happen on this character. When this shift happens, the fact that you are always free is obvious. You don't need like Vedanta, a big explanation. Anybody that says, man, freedom is your first name. The second name is whatever your father gave you. Think about it. No. So this is the heart of a Vedanta student. Really speaking, like being very honest. And I know that some people maybe even listen to that, like some other students, and they feel a little bit shocked because I can tell that the Gayatri won't help in certain situations, that puja is not enough. Yeah. So we have to understand what's the difference between being traditional and being orthodox. A traditional person should show the knowledge in a way that always shocks the mind and makes people want to understand until the last drop, you know, and it works. Orthodox people want to keep their way of thinking, and they aren't suffering. No, they are suffering, all the time suffering. Suffering because nobody chants Gayatri in the correct way anymore, nobody does any... One big problem that Orthodox people have is nobody do Agnihotra. Nobody does Agnihotra. And they even like cry and they say, what is this? Vedas are disappearing. Before we have 1008 Upanishads. Now we have 108. What a stupid attitude. Who created the Vedas? Ishvara. Did something happen to Ishvara? No. All the Upanishads are here only. How many Upanishads do you need to study? 10. Come on. What are you crying for? The whales are instinct. We are killing the Mother Nature. You're not killing the Mother Nature. Mother Nature will swallow the human beings once they destroy the nature. We are not killing the animals, you know. We are killing ourselves. People create these concepts and they stay tied in ideas, you know. This is just ideas. This knowledge is supposed to make you happy and free. Anything that bounds you, does not matter if it's in Sanskrit or in any other language, it's against this. Anything that put you in a free situation where you are, let's say, a person as a whole, wanting to be free without having to deny anything that happens in your life, This will take you wherever you have to go, you know. So this is the correct approach. And it's rare. It's not easy to get, not easy to recognize, not easy to sustain, because everybody will be against you. Why? Because once you tell all these three things to a person, he's obliged to study. He's obliged to move. He cannot just stay and keep chanting Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. This is not going to help. And it's obvious. Understand? So, from the best of my heart, oh, this is it. Om Purna. Okay, but let's chant the mantra. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om. I thought we could do a break, and then we can do question and answers if people have any questions.